Greetings, campers, and welcome to our latest Can TELUS webinars presentation. Today we're talking about social media, and this is the first of our webinars for 2025. There will be many more to come, so stay tuned for that. My name is Scott Walker. I am the Executive Director of the Canadian Artists Network, otherwise known as CAN, and it is my pleasure to welcome artists from right across Canada to today's webinar. On that subject, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we live, work, travel, and create on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations who have cared for this land, now called Canada, since time immemorial. We acknowledge this as part of our covenant with all Indigenous nations to share, respect, and protect the land in the spirit of peace and friendship, and to honor the future generations of all our nations. Social media has been described as a place where you promote yourself as a professional while pretending you're not wearing your pajamas, as opposed to Zoom, where we pretend we're not in our pajamas from the waist down. We're going to find out about the latest trends and methods to get the most out of social media. As an artist today, I imagine there will be questions as we go. Please put them in the Q&A box, and we'll try to get to them, many of them as possible. And please keep your questions as brief as possible as well. Well, our special guest today is a member of the CAN Board of Directors. She's a television host, a serial entrepreneur, and an expert in branding and business consulting with more than 20 years of experience. Please welcome Tanya Dodaro.
Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to be here. I am absolutely thrilled to talk about one of my favorite topics in marketing, which is leveraging social media to build your personal brand. And with that, Scott, if I can ask you to put up the presentation. So we'll start with the next page. Scott, sorry. We had a little bit of technical difficulties this morning. So let's start with a quick slide about me. I first started my career in journalism in Canada and briefly in the US. I had the privilege of hosting shows and reporting on major events. Quick fun fact, years ago, I had two in-person meeting interviews with both Jean Chrétien and the man of the hour these days, Mr. Donald Trump. Later in my career, I moved to the opposite side of journalism and spent the majority of my career in strategic public relations, communications, branding, and business consulting. I am the author of Where Is Your Boat Headed?, a book that provides practical advice for entrepreneurs navigating their business journeys. I have a passion for entrepreneurship, as Scott said. So through Futurepreneur Canada, I mentor emerging business owners. I also advise for The Forge, business incubator at McMaster University, Loyal Venture Capital, and Rise Helps at Rotman. Next. A marketer's dream. Imagine a platform that breaks geographical barriers, enables global connection, and gives access to a diverse audience across industries and demographics. Drum roll, please. Welcome to social media. There are so many platform options today, and each serve different audiences. But for today, I will focus on the top 4 that are probably the most familiar to everyone. LinkedIn, which has over 1 billion users and is the top performer for professional networking, B2B marketing, and thought leadership. Instagram connects with 2.4 billion users, ideal for personal brands that rely on visual content. Think of lifestyle, fashion, or wellness. And then there's TikTok, which has grown rapidly to 1.5 billion users, perfect for engaging younger audiences with authentic and trend-driven content. I can personally say that my 2 young teen daughters are absolute TikTok specialists. And then there's YouTube, which remains the powerhouse with 2.7 billion users. Great for storytelling, education, and long-form content. Choosing the right platform for your personal brand requires a strategic approach. It's not about being everywhere, it's about being intentional and being focused. Next. For interest, please take a look at the fastest growing media platforms right now, with Instagram being number one. Next. Social platforms can benefit you and your brand in many ways. Social media amplifies your voice, allowing you really to step beyond your local network and gain visibility in your industry. By sharing knowledge consistently, you build trust. By offering insights, sharing experiences, and engaging thoughtfully, you really position yourself as a trusted expert in your field, and people engage with brands and individuals that they perceive to be authentic and knowledgeable. Social media is networking on steroids. Platforms like LinkedIn allow you to directly engage with potential clients. You're no longer limited to in-person networking events. Instead, meaningful connections can happen with a comment or DM. A strong personal brand attracts opportunities. Clients, media outlets often find people through their online presence, and a well-managed social media brand can lead to collaborations, podcast invitations, and much more. Personal example, a few years ago, I auditioned to become an expert for the show Cityline. I was in a room filled with want-to-be experts. I was curious, so I asked the producer how they go about finding their experts and bringing them in for auditions. And she said, "We scan social media for trendy, knowledgeable, and authentic people doing amazing things." It's that simple. So to summarize, I would argue that in today's digital world, building a personal brand on social media isn't optional, it's essential. Next. Let's look at the steps to building a successful brand on social media. Step one in building a killer personal brand: define your online presence. Who do you want to be online? This starts by identifying your niche and expertise. What sets you apart in your field? Is it your services, your approach, perhaps your portfolio? Next step is to be sure to properly clarify your unique value proposition. What do you offer that others don't? I often refer to this as the magic in your brand. What is that golden nugget that will make people notice you? And finally, it's crucial to understand your target audience. Who are they, and what do they need and want to see come from you? Tailoring your message and content to meet their needs is the key to establishing a meaningful connection. Next. Step two is to pick the platforms that best suit your brand. Start with reviewing all the major platforms and their key audiences. Each platform has its own strengths and appeals to different types of users. You already know that LinkedIn is great for professionals, Instagram is visual and perfect for creatives, and TikTok is ideal for short form and viral content. Then match your personal branding goals with the right platform. Think about your target audience. Are they most likely to be on LinkedIn versus Instagram? Choosing the right platform helps ensure that your message and content reaches the right people. Finally, think about focusing on quality over quantity. So instead of spreading yourself across every platform, focus on mastering maybe one or possibly two. It's better to invest your time in creating high quality content on fewer platforms that align with your goals than to stretch yourself too thin trying to manage many accounts. Fun fact, note that to create a successful feed, you'd likely need anywhere from 8 to 16 hours per week for consistent quality content creation and engagement. So doing social media right can be quite the job. So qual over quant is key here. Next. When you're building your online presence, your visual elements are the first thing people notice. So things like your profile picture, your banner, and your color choices should all reflect your brand's personality. For instance, a mental health coach might choose soft, calm color palette, perhaps greens and blues in the banner, which will consistently give a vibe of peace and serenity. It's all about setting the right tone from the moment someone lands on your page. And then don't forget about your profile picture. This should really capture who you are. Whether you're aiming for a professional vibe or perhaps more approachable or just something creative. Again, make sure it aligns with how you want people to perceive you. Think of some of the best brands. When you see their content, you just know it's them. Sometimes even before you read the name. That's the goal. Your visual elements should be so consistent and unique that when people see your content, it stands out and instantly feels familiar. Then your tone, the tone of your post, should reflect your voice and values. Do you want your brand to have a professional tone, more relaxed and conversational style? For example, a financial advisor might want to keep an informative tone, but perhaps approachable, while someone in the arts could use a more casual, trend-focused style. Consider how brands like Nike use motivational, empowering messaging. Their tone is always strong and action oriented, which aligns with their brand values of perseverance and strength. So, your tone should echo the same values that you want to communicate, whether it's trust, fun, professionalism, or something else. And then finally, think about your tagline or bio as your digital elevator pitch. It needs to be memorable and clearly communicate what you do in very few words. So you only have a few seconds to grab attention, so make sure it's impactful. I know when sending out press releases for years and years in my public relations career, it's all about the header. You know, you've really got to focus on grabbing someone's attention within the first 5 seconds, or you've lost them. Next. I took a few examples of brands we may know. Let's take a look at Indigo first. Their tagline, books, gifts, and lifestyle, clearly conveys their focus on books, but also emphasizes their broader offerings and lifestyle products. It's simple, but it tells you exactly what they provide. With Home Depot, their tagline, it's time to be a doer. It highlights their commitment to empowering their consumer to complete DIY projects. It's both memorable and action-oriented. Hudson Bay's tagline is straightforward and a powerful statement that connects directly to their national brand and heritage. And the Longo's tagline not only conveys quality, but also creates a sense of reliability for customers who value freshness in their food. It's a great example of aligning a tagline with brand values. Each of these companies uses a tagline that distills their mission or promise to their consumer in just a few words. So when you're thinking about crafting your own, think about what your audience needs to know about you or your business in a clear and concise way. Next. To keep your audience engaged, it's really important to create a mix of content. And each type of content has a different goal and resonates with your audience in unique ways. Educational content is valuable to your audience by sharing tips, step-by-step guides, how-tos that solves problems or teaches something new. This type of content builds trust and positions you as an expert in your field. Inspirational content can highlight success stories, either of your own or others, to help motivate your audience. People love stories of overcoming challenges, especially those that drive them to take action. Entertaining content keeps things fun and light. So here you share relatable moments, funny anecdotes, perhaps trending challenges that your audience can connect with. And this type of content helps to humanize your brand. Personal content is where you give your audience a peek behind the scenes of your life or business, whether it's a day in the life of, or perhaps how you create your product or service. And this makes your brand feel authentic and relatable. Now let's talk about how to maximize engagement with your content. Visuals and videos are key for engagement. So keeping in mind that people are more likely to interact with content that's eye-catching. Use high quality images, perhaps infographics, and of course, the most effective format these days, which is short form videos to capture attention. Consistency is also critical. Set a posting schedule, whether it's daily, weekly, or a few times a week, and stick to it. Consistency helps your audience keep engaged and also allows you to stay top of mind with them. I always say aim for a minimum of 3 posts per week. Lastly, encourage interaction, ask questions, run polls, and invite your audience to comment. When people engage with your content, it creates a sense of community and increases your visibility. Next. I wanted to share some excellent examples of beautiful and engaging social content. I chose to highlight 3 artists so you can get a sense of different looks and feels, but within the same industry. Zaria Lynn's feed here is cohesive and eye-catching. The artist has incorporated a consistent color theme throughout, creating a calming and inspiring visual experience. This approach not only draws attention, but it reinforces the brand's identity and mood. Next one, we'll take a look at. So this artist creates engaging content, sharing videos with tips and tricks, as you can see here, interesting insights and behind the scenes moments. He maintains a cohesive aesthetic, blending warm tones, and he consistently features himself to create that personal connection with his audience. And the next one is my favorite. Sorry, Scott, the next one. Yeah. This feed is just wow. Everything is meticulously on brand. Even the artist's clothing aligns with her artistic style. Everything is done with purpose. She's created a social media aesthetic that perfectly reflects her art themes. And her page not only showcases her work, but also offers like behind the scenes moments from her shows. It's fun, it's engaging, and it keeps the viewers coming back for more. Next. Now on to step 5, how to make your personal brand a success on social media. The key, stay relevant and on trend. Each social media platform has its own set of features that can help you stay relevant. So for example, on Instagram, you can use stories and reels to share quick updates or fun behind the scenes moments. By using these features, you're not only keeping up with the platform's trends, but you're also making your content more visible and engaging. Another way to stay relevant is by joining trending conversations and using popular hashtags. So whether it's a viral topic or a hashtag that's relevant to your industry, participating in these trends allows you to tap into wider conversations and increases your reach. Just be sure to align the trend with your brand values to keep your brand on point. And don't be afraid to get creative with trending formats. So for example, if a specific challenge is trending, think about how you can put your own spin on it and how it can relate specifically to your brand. Repurposing trends in a way that still aligns with your brand can help you stay fresh and engaging, but at the same time, it shows that you're aware of your social space, of the social space. Next. When it comes to social media, it's easy to get caught up in follower counts and likes. Stay away from this mindset. Instead, focus on building genuine relationships instead of just chasing numbers. We all get caught up in the number game, but it's important just to focus again on quality here. A few tips for fostering meaningful connections on social platforms. Number 1, engage with your audience. Social media isn't just about posting, it's about creating a two-way conversation. So responding to comments, messages, shows the audience that you value them. When people feel heard, they're more likely to engage with your content and become loyal followers. Number 2 is collaborate with others. You don't have to grow your brand alone. Actually, it's quite daunting. Partnering with other creators, influencers, or even brands in your niche can really help you reach new audiences. Whether it's co-creating content, hosting live sessions, or perhaps featuring each other, collaborations create these win-win opportunities. Number 3, look at joining relevant groups. So beyond your own feed, there are valuable conversations happening in Facebook groups, LinkedIn communities, and other industry forums. And then by actively participating, sharing insights and answering questions and engaging in discussions, what you're really doing is positioning yourself as a thought leader, but at the same time, building a network of supportive connections. And then finally, prioritize quality interactions. I get it. It's easy to focus on numbers, but real success comes from meaningful interactions. I always like to say a small engaged audience is often more valuable than a large disengaged one. And just remember that social media is all about connections. By engaging and collaborating and focusing on genuine interactions, you will actually create a strong, engaged community that truly supports your brand. And that really is the best outcome. Next. When building your social media strategy, tracking performance is essential. These key metrics will help you understand what's working so you can do more of the good stuff. Engagement rate shows you how well your content resonates with your audience. It includes likes, shares, comments, and saves. And a high engagement rate is a great indicator of valuable content. Reach and impressions, which often get confused. Reach is the number of unique users who see your content, while impressions count how many times it's been shown. These metrics help measure your content's visibility. Follower growth. So tracking growth over time really helps assess whether your strategy is attracting the right audience. Again, as I mentioned, focus on quality growth, not numbers. These days, there's so many tools available to help you measure your online efforts. Really, you can start with the built-in analytics. So most platforms offer these free analytics to track your performance. You can use them to monitor engagement, reach, and audience insights. You can also use third-party tools, some of them Hootsuite, Buffer, Social Sprout, which you may have heard of. These offer advanced tracking and reporting features. And then, of course, there's the Google Analytics. And Google Analytics is used to track traffic driven from your website to your social media platforms. So it's especially useful for understanding audience behavior. With all of this in hand, you can use performance data to fine-tune your strategy. So you can identify your top performing content and create more of it. If certain posts drive engagement, keep it coming. Experiment with posting times, so weekdays versus weekends, AM versus PM, and try different content formats like video, carousel, stories. You can even experiment with different calls to action. But most important, be flexible. Social media is always evolving, and so should your strategy. Next. Common social media mistakes to avoid. Number 1, over-promoting without providing value. Social media isn't just a sales platform. It's a space for connection and engagement. If all you do is promote, people will lose interest, and they'll lose interest fast. Instead of focusing on that, focus on delivering value. So a great rule that I like to follow is the 80-20 rule, where 80% of your content should provide value and only 20% should be promotional. When you lead with value, people are more likely to support and trust your brand in the long term. Number 2, ignoring negative feedback and being defensive. Nobody likes negative comments, but how you handle them can either build or break your credibility. Ignoring or deleting criticism can make you seem unapproachable, but at the same time, if you're overly defensive, it can escalate the situation. Instead, I always like to advise, acknowledge concerns, offer solutions, and respond professionally. I personally believe that a well-handled response can turn a critic into a loyal supporter. And the last one, which is everybody's biggest challenge, posting inconsistently. Inconsistency is one of the biggest mistakes you can make on social media. If you post sporadically, your audience will forget about you. This is a tough one, knowing how much time and effort has to go into creating good content. I always suggest creating a content calendar where you can pre plan your posts for the month to really help you stay organized and ensure that you have a steady flow of content. Next. The best part of social media today, AI is here to help, and it's a total game changer. I came across this stat, and to be honest, it was both shocking but totally expected. 83% of marketers say AI helps them create more content than they could without it. What does this mean for you? Incorporate AI into your strategy. You will save time, significantly cutting the time that you use for your content creation process. From personal experience, AI tools have drastically reduced the time I spend brainstorming and content creating. Honestly, sometimes I find that AI generates better content than I could on my own. The key takeaway, start making friends with ChatGPT. Trust me, it'll become your new secret weapon for content creation. Next. So now that we've covered the strategies and best practices, I thought it'd be helpful to show how these can be applied to real life through the experience of a successful social media user. I'm excited to introduce our guest, Leah Murray. Leah and I will be having a live Q&A to do a little bit of a deep dive into her experience and learn how she has successfully been using social media to grow her personal brand. Welcome, Leah.
Whoops, thank you. Sorry, I had my microphone turned off here. How is everybody today?
It's so nice to have you. And
Thank
thank
you.
for coming on as a guest. Do you want to start maybe by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm an incurable career changer. So I have been a soldier, I have been a corporate technical project manager. And when all of that sort of got finished and I had the time and money, I became an artist. So of course I am constantly about change. I like change, and I enjoy meeting people because of that.
Just gonna start my video so we're having a proper conversation. So let's start with what inspired you to start using social media.
One of my friends, actually, she is a writer, and she got on Facebook a lot earlier than the rest of us, thanks to her kids. And so she was bugging me and saying, "You should be on Facebook. You should be on Facebook. You should be on Facebook." And I sort of went, well, at that time I was still working in the corporate field. So I sort of went, well, what good is Facebook going to do for me? I'm an introverted technical geek. And she said, no, get on there, get on there. So anyway, eventually I caved in and I got on there. She insisted it was easier to use than LinkedIn, which I already used because I had a corporate resume and stuff on there. And I didn't really engage very much with LinkedIn at first. When I got on Facebook, all of that changed because I found a tribe of people there who I could relate to. And then I realized that, hey, you know what? There are groups in LinkedIn too. So I started poking around doing that. And that was the beginning of hours upon hours every day of surfing and checking it out and so on and so forth. I got kind of addicted to LinkedIn and Facebook at that point.
I'm curious, how has this impacted your personal brand and business?
Well, first, when I figured out that all of the surface stuff actually was only an introduction, things like a tagline for my profiles and things, I realized that all of the value in social media is in being sociable. I realized very, very quickly that the more people I had conversations with that were more real and authentic, the more I could actually gain out of it, and the more collaborators and friends I gained. And for me, collaboration and friendship and ongoing relationships is a big deal. I'm not about huge numbers, I'm about small numbers with more depth.
I love that. Have you noticed a direct connection between how much time you put into social media and what the return on investment is?
Yes and no. Yes and no. The more time I spend interacting in groups, the bigger my following gets. Okay, I'm really a lazy social media user in that I don't post every single day. I I am on I check my Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest every day. Okay, but I only do that for about an hour and a half total each day. That includes any posting time. If I have to put a post in there, um, that means that I'm spending maybe 6, 8 hours a week doing the social media stuff. But because I get bored easily, I have a really short attention span. I tend to spread my posts out into areas of interest, so I'm not focused on one thing all the time.
Leah, have you ever dealt with any negative feedback?
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, I'm actually kind of heartless when it comes to negative feedback. I don't get it that often. I'm basically fairly friendly and fairly easygoing about most things, but every now and then I will get somebody who is just trying to start an argument or trying to start a lot of drama, and I'm pretty heartless about giving one response, one reasonable response to a person like that. And if I don't get a more reasonable response than their original right away, I will give them back a somewhat sarcastic and hopefully funny answer. And if they escalate at that point, they're blocked and gone. I have I'm not a psychologist. I am not on social media to be unsociable. If they're not sociable too, they're not part of my clique. So
You know what? And that's good advice because there's a lot of negativity on social media. I say it's equal good and bad, but I think it's understanding if someone truly has a concern, and
yeah,
then being able to answer that in a professional way and then moving on. But if
yeah,
they're just there to cause problems, then you're
yeah,
doing the right thing. I wanted
yeah.
to ask you if you're willing to share perhaps a business opportunity that came about from your use on social media,
About which?
a business opportunity that may have come about through social media.
Oh, yeah. I I have sort of a wide variety of people on my social media, and what happens is that people tend to say one thing, and I say something back, and then I end up in going down a rabbit hole with it. Um, One of my most recurring photography workshop gigs arrived via Facebook, because a local festival organizer asked me if I could donate a gift certificate um, for a local fair's prize draw. I gave him a gift certificate for an introductory 1 hour home and garden photo workshop at the certificate winner's home. Turns out the draw winner was a landscaper, and they enjoyed their hour so much that they ended up hiring me to do a half-day workshop every year when their summer students came on board. And they wanted me to teach their summer students how to photograph the before and after photos on their homes and commercial properties that they were landscaping. And they used those for the company's photo archives and promotional materials. That I did those workshops for several years until the landscaper retired and sold the business. And then the new owner came along and said, hey, Can you keep doing that? And everybody told me I was nuts because I'm the photographer, so I should be out there taking all those photos. But as I said earlier, I'm a bit lazy. I don't want to run myself into the ground doing work for other people. So, okay, I'll empower you guys to do the work and you pay me for empowering you. And that was how that sort of went down. That worked for them, it worked for me, and it was a great collaboration, and it still is.
Well, that's a great story. Yeah, social media is a lot of work, but it definitely can lead to win-win opportunities. I think when you look at, 8 to 12 hours, spending 8 to 12 hours on an already busy week, like it's a lot to commit
Yeah,
to.
it's
But
huge amount of time. So,
but it's about streamlining. I think, just
yeah,
streamlining your posts and, maybe taking half a day to come up with a calendar for a month. And then it's the content creating. So videos can take a long time. By the
yeah,
time you shoot, by the time you edit, I find static posts are a lot easier. Yes, they don't have the same engagement, but sometimes it's a combination of both so that you're able to still post consistently. My question for you too is, do you have any advice for people who are interested in growing their online presence?
yeah. Um, don't stress too much about the numbers. Okay, be yourself more than anything else. What people on social media are craving right now is authentic connection. Okay, nobody wants to be just a number to somebody else, and if you can accept that numbers, huge numbers actually matter to huge corporations and huge product masses. For most artists that I know, smaller numbers of followers and whatnot actually work really, really well because that relationship that people want to develop with you spreads because of what they say about you, not because of the number of people you talk to. Okay, so being really authentic counts with artists because they're very perceptive people. And the other thing about working in the arts field is that everybody in the arts needs collaborators. So going in, my idea is never I want X number of followers or X number of likes out of this. I want to actually come out with a collaboration of some sort, even if it's only a let's all talk about the Canadian flag for a while.
Right.
Okay, so um, for me, this kind of interaction, I keep track of those interactions. I jot them down on sticky notes, and the edge of my monitor here is like feathered with sticky notes about okay, met this one, talked to that one, da 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 da. And then at the end of the week, I just collect all the sticky notes and stick them in a little table. And that's the number I track more than anything else is how many interactions did I have that were more than just a superficial thing.
I love that. And I'm so glad you shared it because people tend to forget themselves. Every day on social media, there's so much superficial content out there that it's sometimes hard to stay true and authentic. And I think authenticity is the key word here. And I think it also depends on your purpose. If you are an influencer and you're looking to attract brands to sponsor things and events and whatnot, then yes, numbers do matter. I've
Numbers
had
count.
many,
Yeah.
many clients. I had a snack goods company as a client who walked into a Walmart sales meeting, and the first thing Walmart did was pull up her social media feeds and said, "Your numbers aren't there. You've got to get your numbers to 30,000 followers," which was shocking, but she's also a friend. So I definitely believed her story. So I think it depends, right? I'm not saying numbers are
Mhm.
important.
Does.
It depends on why you're there. And so
Mhm.
I like what you said. I think it's really important. And like I said in my presentation, smaller engaged audience is more important than a large
Yes.
disengaged audience.
Very, very much so, because a smaller engaged audience, you can develop collaborative projects. And if you have collaborations, you have many hands. And if you have many hands, you have light work.
Yes.
So it's, for artists in particular, um, we don't have huge corporate entities behind us as a general rule. So we need to work together and help each other and help ourselves at the same time. And so that's the entire basis of my approach to social media.
Okay, thank you so much, Leah. We're going to move on to the question period. And so, Leah, I was actually going to ask if you want to stay on and help me perhaps answer some questions.
Well, oh, if I can, sure.
We have a couple of major question kind of threads happening. Let's deal with those. One of them is about a new platform called Blue Sky, which a lot of artists are kind of gravitating towards. Tanya, do you have any thoughts on Blue Sky?
I don't. I'm sorry, but anything that I don't know, I am happy to provide an answer after the fact. I like to do my research. I'll pass it on to Leah.
Okay. Blue Sky is relatively new and I just got on there. So I found that in one very important way, it's a very reactive place to be. And the reactive is that people are sick and tired of the drama and negativity on the other platforms. And there's a serious community-based effort there to be nice and be real. So I like that a lot. I'm not sure how long lasting that will be at this point because I just got on there like 2 months ago and I'm just sort of following things around and finding out about it. But that's my habit anyway, is to go somewhere, lurk for a while, see what the air feels like, and then do whatever I do. It's sort of like the original Twitter in that it's very ephemeral. At this point, there's not a lot of substance going on there. There's lots of commentary on different things and lots of feel-good stuff. So I find it kind of a treat after, dealing with Quora and Facebook and LinkedIn sometimes, which sometimes deal with heavier subjects. I go to Blue Sky immediately after I deal with anything heavy on the other ones and lift my mood back up before I go back to work. So I like it lots, but I'm not sure yet what it's going to develop into.
That's a good point. I've seen many come and go. And so really it's just about following it and seeing it, seeing it through.
Yeah. I think it needs more artists because artists have the gift of being able to argue intelligently and compassionately. And, if we get a lot of artists on it, I think it's probably going to develop into a real neat sort of community there. But at the moment, it's kind of like a butter tart, absolutely delicious. A big relief sometimes under the right circumstances, but not necessarily more than empty calories at this point.
You just described my absolute favorite form of food.
Mine too, Scott. I'm right there with you.
Couple of other questions. Well, there was a thread when you mentioned artificial intelligence, AI, Tanya. A lot of people said you may have seen it in.
I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah.
I know AI brings up many emotions. So, I deal with this every day with my daughters. I deal with it, in school when they can easily write essays and they have it at their fingertips. How do you manage that? The way AI, this is my personal opinion, AI is not going anywhere. I think it'll be, or what was it? I just heard recently, I think it was this week, perhaps on Monday, Justin Trudeau said that the invention of AI would be similar to electricity, which was shocking to me, but at the same time, not shocking. I think it's something you cannot avoid, but it's how to use it thoughtfully. I don't think it'll ever replace humans. Well, I shouldn't even say that. I just saw a video about human robots very recently, which was scary. I like to use it to be a sounding board. So sometimes I don't have a business partner next to me if I'm working from home. And I like to use it as a sounding board. I have an idea and I want to think about my idea and think about perhaps different ways of thinking about my idea. So I use AI as a helper, not to replace me, but to help me think through things. Lee, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yep. I have lots of opinions on AI because I started out my career in technology, and AI is another form of technology. I actually make use of it because I'll get the germ of an idea. I feed it to an AI. I look at the results, and then I mash them through my creative development part. I don't use it to create a finished product ever.
Yeah.
It's only a seed tool for me. I think that the legal system and the social systems have to develop to support it and to actually contain it, because people are afraid of what it can do because it's too people-like. And we've made lots of messes in the world, so we're smart enough to be wary of more people-like things that are more active than us. However, I think that um, AI is a really useful tool for creatives, partly because I've been studying it since the 1980s, and because I understand that it's got its limitations. It's not there to replace me. It can't replace me. It's not capable of that. It is not a creative thinking being. It is a tool that is just really fast at collecting stuff. And so I get it to collect stuff, give it to me, and then I do the mashing, the brain work on it. And that works pretty well. Okay. I never use anything directly from an AI for anything. I always use it as seed material, and that's it. That's its role, is to provide me with seed material to open up avenues for me to explore further myself. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what it's always been supposed to do. And everybody who's trying to make it replace them is barking up the wrong tree completely. It's not supposed to be a replacement for people. It's supposed to be a support for people, and we all need to use it that way and not let it be the other way.
It's tricky.
It is, well, it is tricky, but if you assert your own individuality over any technology, it becomes an effective tool. If you do not assert your individuality and yourself over it, and insist on your regal prerogative, as it were, to use the technology in the ways that are of benefit to you and the people around you, then it runs you. And the big thing about technology is that it was never intended to run you. It was intended to help you. So make it stay in its role. Make it help you.
I think it's really about teaching the younger generation that, because they've been born into technology. And so for them, it's just too easy of a tool. I see it very clearly with my kids and their friends. It's too easy for them. So it's really, I think it starts actually with education in the school systems.
Yeah, it's a complex sort of question because it's a complex sort of tool and its abilities are complex. So that's pretty scary in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But we invented it. We figured out how to make it happen. It took us, what, 40 years since the 80s? Okay. It took us 40 years to develop that one bit of technology from the very first AI, which was called Lisa. And Lisa's primary test was to come apart and deal with a conversation. That was all they wanted Lisa to do. And it took her 25 years to figure out how to do that. Okay, AI is not moving nearly as fast as people think it is. we're not moving quite fast enough to keep on top of the legal stuff and whatnot. We let ourselves get distracted by trade wars with the United States and, arguing with Russians over Crimea and things like that. But if we sort of keep one eye on that AI ball and insist that it stay in its place and insist that our kids learn to keep it in its place, then I think we're going to be fine.
You know what? This sounds like a topic for another webinar to me.
Oh, yeah. I would love a webinar like that for a discussion period.
Yeah, I think we're going to do that. Let's work on arranging an AI for artists webinar, or how artists can protect themselves from AI and use it.
AI for artists wouldn't have to include how you protect yourself
Yeah,
from
exactly.
that, because everybody seems to think they can replace a creative human being with a non-creative tool. And
Right.
sorry, that's not going to work.
No, for sure. So we'll do that. So
Cool.
let's leave this for another day, because it is a big topic, and
It is. It's huge.
it may
Yeah.
need more than one webinar. Who knows?
Probably, because it's going to evolve too, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Got another question for you, Tanya. An artist on both Instagram and Facebook who says she's constantly approached by scammers, people involved with NFTs, non-fungible tokens, or fake galleries or fake curators. How do you
Yeah.
deal with that? Because it's frustrating and a waste of time.
Yep.
Tanya?
Go ahead, Leah, if you'd like to take it. I have
I'm just going to refer right back to my one chance and you're out rule. If you send me spam on any of my social media platforms that I can identify as spam, you're blocked almost instantly. I don't tolerate it. I don't put up with it. This is my feed and I won't have garbage in it. So I'm ruthless about that. I'm also very ruthless about reporting accounts. If somebody's doing a scam on Facebook, I not only publish the fact on my own feed that that's a scam, but I also report it to Meta, and I report it again and again and again wherever I come across it. I warn everybody I know, this one's a scam. Ignore it, avoid it. It's sort of a defixe for me. I don't like to see technology misused, and in my opinion, that is an egregious misuse of the tool.
It's funny because whenever I do these seminars, it's the number one question that I get.
Yep.
I was just doing a podcast 2 weeks ago, and same thing, same question.
Yep.
They're so good that it's really difficult to not. You have to be really careful.
Yep.
I recently fell for one. Taylor Swift was coming to town, and I have two Swifties, and a cousin of mine was selling tickets for $200. I messaged with him. I had a full conversation. I was ready to meet him or send him my an e-transfer, and I got a funny response back, and I realized it wasn't him. So someone, hijacked his account. Very, very scary. And I'm pretty good at seeing through these things. Anyway, I think it's respond, give the person a chance, respond once, and then, like you said, Leah, report it immediately. And we just have to be more and more careful these days. These things are everywhere. I get phone calls. It's through social media. It's through email. I get emails that look real, and it's hard these days to tell the difference.
Yeah. Cynicism first.
Yes.
And then eventually if somebody makes an offer to me or tells me something that seems, too good to be true on the first glance, and I'm going, ooh, that would be so cool. As soon as I feel myself doing that, I go, wait a minute. Why is that so cool compared to all the other ones I've seen today? And then my cranky old soldier persona kicks in, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's crap. Get it out of here. you know, and so I don't fall for a lot of scams. I came close earlier this year myself, in spite of that immediate response. But every time I practice fending off, blocking, stopping those people, it gets easier and smoother to fend them off, block them, and stop them. And so now I have just this little routine that goes, okay, this is garbage. And first, warn everybody I know that it's garbage. Second, make a nasty comment back to them that exposes the scam. And third, block and report. And I just keep doing that. And my feed has gotten actually a lot cleaner because I'm getting an ugly reputation for being an impossible to scam user on those platforms now. You know, if you can get past Leah's cynicism about whatever wonderful offer you're making, then you have a truly imaginative and creative scam going there. But don't think it's going to happen because it's, you know, I just don't believe stuff that easily.
Maybe we need another webinar on how to follow Leah's example on not falling for scammers.
Well, I'd have to retrain everybody to be a cranky old soldier in that case, and I'm not sure artists really want to fit that mold.
There is that.
And the truth is, once you figure it out, the scammers will change their strategy.
Yeah, they will. That's why they're
So
getting
true.
better because it's getting harder for them. It's getting more obvious all the time what they are. But again, it's a matter of, okay, be able to deal with it quickly, effectively, and get it out of your face as soon as you can, and then get on with the rest of your real life, because that's not real life.
And if I might quote from the chat, Leah, you're no cranky old soldier. You're a breath of fresh air.
I'm glad you think so. My mother doesn't think that. But
That from Diana Platts. Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing
Diana.
that, Diana. And I think we've just about run out of time. We don't have any more questions at the moment. So why don't we call it a webinar? I don't know what else we'd call it, but let's call it a wrap for now.
Can we do one last thing?
Well, if you insist.
Please, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
sure.
Somebody was asking about alternatives to Instagram and Facebook. Okay. And my biggest uses of social media are Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. Okay, Pinterest is a terrific place to do research, to find things and people to follow and to learn from. I use it as almost as a pure research platform. And it's really, really helpful for creative people in that way. LinkedIn is supposed to be the business and corporate platform, but there are huge numbers of artists working on LinkedIn these days, and the groups on LinkedIn for artists and the arts are absolutely terrific because they're jammed with professionals and people who've been in the business a long time. So networking there is like gets you places a lot faster. Facebook is sort of my my general interest thing. Okay, I left Twitter outright several months ago, last year now, almost, because I didn't like the tone. But there's a couple more. Get into Pinterest, start, checking stuff out there. It is a bit of a hotbed for creatives, and people are starved for creativity these days. So getting on there is a bit of a big boost for you.
We did have one other question, and I think I can answer it actually. From an actor, are producers turning down auditioners with low numbers of social media followers? From what I understand, Shell, if you're auditioning and you're up for a part and it's between you and one other actor, some producers, maybe most producers, will look at your social media feeds and see who has the most followers, and that's who they will pick for the role, because then they will post about doing the gig and the movie or the TV series. So that is an issue for actors, certainly.
I think it's an issue across the board.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
true.
I don't like to focus on numbers, but I think for a lot of industries, it's a reality.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So let's leave it at that. Thank you, Tanya,
My pleasure.
for this. I'm just going to, and thank you, Leah, as always. Great to have you with us. I'm just going to share the final slide that from Tanya's presentation with her contact information.
If you have any further questions, please feel free to send me an email or connect with me on any of my platforms.
There you go. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you both.
Thank you for your time today, everybody.
And I want to thank our series sponsor, TELUS, of course. And most of all, thank you to everybody for joining us today. We will be posting a video of this webinar on our website early next week, so you'll be able to refresh your recollection of what went on. And we've got another webinar coming up in exactly 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today. Robert Johnson Visionary Artist Laureate Carol Anderson will lead us in a session of movement design for mature bodies, all done while seated. So I look forward to that. And don't forget that all of our webinars, including public relations, art and neuroscience, preserving the mind, copyright, artistic legacy preparation, identity theft and fraud prevention, are all available on our website for viewing, as this will be as of Monday or Tuesday. And our website, of course, is canartnet.ca. So until we talk again, which I hope will be very soon, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Have a creative day. Take care.